Greetings. My name is Ryan Donovan. I'm a friend of Drew and Amanda Whithorn, and Drew's asked me to share with you all, share some of our story, my wife and I, and our daughter, our family, share some of our story. And when he asked, it was a no-brainer to say yes, because anytime I'm asked to share about my daughter Kaya, the answer is always yes, and specifically to share about God's work in our life and God's work in her life in that time. And so I'm sharing on behalf of my wife Leanne as well. And I wish we could be there with you to share face to face, but we're in a moment in time when that, I suppose, is not possible. And so I'm grateful for a chance to share in this manner. I imagine there's some of you I know. Perhaps there's none of you I know. I don't know. But I wish I could be there face to face. In the summer of 2011, July 2011, we were prepared to have our first child, a daughter. We named her Kaya, and we were so excited. We had all the stuff. We were ready to go, at least as ready as first-time parents get. We probably had more stuff than we needed. And we were expecting this just to be an incredible thing, our first child, and we'd gone to the hospital for Leanne to be induced. We went in overnight. Next morning, things still hadn't quite progressed, and so I went down to get some breakfast in the cafeteria. And as I was doing that, I was reading my Bible, and I don't remember what brought me to Psalm 34, if it was a plan I was reading, or if it was just completely random. But I read through Psalm 34 and came across the verse that's all too familiar. Psalm 34:8 says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." And man, I thought, today's one of those days where I'm going to really experience the goodness of God as I get to see my first daughter born into this world and start this incredible journey of being a dad. Boy, I was so excited, and I had no idea. I had no idea what God meant when He said, "Taste and see that I'm good." I didn't realize that it was gonna look different than I would have expected, but His plan for me was still to taste and see, just not according to what I would have expected. Yeah, and so my daughter was born. It ended up being an emergency C-section because her levels, I don't know, they were dropping. Things weren't going quite right, and so they had an emergency C-section and got her out, and of course when you have an emergency C-section, they really knock Leanne out. So Kaya comes out, and right away she's not crying, which is kind of weird. But then we're, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of people in the room, and they're checking her out, and it seems like maybe she's not totally breathing normal, but then everything's good, and wrap her up, and I'm holding her, and then about an hour and a half or so later, as they're watching all of the levels, it's the only word I know how to, all the oxygen level, they're watching all that, and it's not going the way that it should be. It's just dropping off randomly. And so they recognize, okay, something's up here, and they admitted her to the NICU, where she's going to receive special treatment and care and attention. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. That's not what you expected. That's not what I expected. That we thought this is just going to be smooth sailing. Never really considered that maybe it wouldn't be. Kaya never left the NICU, except to be transferred from one hospital to another. So yeah, that was July 29, 2011. And over the course of the next 20 days, we came to understand that she had a very rare syndrome. It's called Ohtahara syndrome. You've never heard of it, almost for sure. Really uncommon, but also It's not a good diagnosis. It's a neurological disorder. She was constantly having seizures. It was taking away her ability to breathe on her own. For a while, she was breathing on her own with the help of just some oxygen in her nose, and then eventually had to be intubated for the last half of her 20 days of life. And so, well, there's a lot I could share, and I know time is a little bit limited here, because I could talk for the next few hours. But the short of the story is that Kaya lived for 20 days, and then she went to be with the Lord. And we recognized that the Lord's in charge. Like our days are numbered by Him. Her days were numbered by Him. None of it came as a surprise to Him. Sure did to us. It was very painful, and I mean, honestly, it's still hard. I talk about her all the time. We remember Kaya. We talk about her with our children. We have 3 other daughters now have come after Kaya. Our daughter Mabel is 7, Estelle is 5, and Rosie is, I think, 19 or 20 months. Maybe 18. I don't know. Her birthday's in October. Anyway, so the question that Drew posed to me is how did God comfort us? How has God comforted us in the midst of the pain of having a child and then losing a child? And I'll tell you what, it's pretty incredible. The Lord's good. And I referenced Psalm 34:8. I have tasted and seen that the Lord is good. And I hope you don't experience it this way. I hope you experience it a different way. But He's good in the hardest stuff. And so if this is how God chooses to help you see Him, He's good. How did He walk with us and comfort us? One of the ways was through the church, through His people. People cared so much. At the time, I was serving as a pastor at a church that we attended and still attend there now, but no longer serving in a pastoral role. But anyway, the church cared. Sometimes it can be awkward. You're afraid what you're going to say, and sure, I'm sure some of that happened. But people in our congregation were so great to love us well, to care for us, to pray for us, to bring us things, to help provide for our needs, to give us space, to be patient. Like I said, I was a pastor. I wasn't a very good one for at least a year, however good I was to begin with. I struggled to do my job well. I struggled to do anything well for about a year. It took about a year to feel like when someone asked me how you doing, I could say I'm good. It took me over a year to feel like I could say that. But even in that hard time, we were comforted by our church. We were cared for. We were prayed for. We were encouraged. We were understood. We were blessed in so many ways. And we're sure thankful for our church. We're thankful to be at a church where people do love us and help us to see Jesus when we struggle to see Him, and when we get caught up in seeing just our pain and our hurt and our sorrow. And so the church was a huge comfort to us. And then the promise of eternity. It becomes really real. Heaven becomes really real when someone you love lives there. When you are holding your daughter as she dies, the confidence, the hope that what Jesus has promised is true. There's only 2 ways for that to go, up or down. The complacency stops making a whole lot of sense. And so God comforted us and helping us to embrace confidence in his promise of eternity, to find great hope in that Kaya did not just simply die and vanish, is not just simply over and done with, but that she lives with him, that she's healthy, that she's not sick any longer. We had to be reminding ourselves, my wife and I, we would remind each other, encourage each other, and point to God's promises. And you know, what's been really cool is that we've had a chance to share with others. You know, like I said, I hope no one who's watching this video ever has to lose a child. It's the worst. It's the worst. But it's an incredible blessing to sit with another family who's just lost a child, and to be able to relate and to cry and to care and to not have all the answers and not try and fix anything, but just to be there and to be another family that can say, yeah, we do get it, and we're so sorry. We've had opportunity to talk with and spend time with and befriend a number of families who that's their circumstance too, and to be a blessing to them, and then to be mutually blessed by them, because you know, even as we're nearing 9 years that Kaya died, it still hurts, it's still hard, not constantly, but we're still receiving comfort from those who have also experienced the loss of a child, and even as we get a chance to be a comfort to them, to care for them, to point them to Jesus. And sometimes that's been people who know the Lord, and sometimes it's been people who don't. And so we're thankful. We're thankful for the work God's done in our lives, and the way that He's cared for our hearts in the pain, and given us an incredible family with our 3 daughters to help, I don't know, see that that wasn't the final answer, both for now, and then we know it's not the final answer for eternity. So again, thanks for the chance to share. One other way that God's allowed us to become a comfort for others, while Kaya was alive, I was writing letters to friends asking them to pray for us, and so there's a little book. It's called Pray for Kaya. It's on Amazon. It's Kaya is spelled Kaia. It's $3.99 because you have to charge money. We don't really make any money on it. It's not about that. But if it would be ever a comfort, I just wanted you to know it's out there. It's available. So pray that you guys would be blessed as it sounds like you're studying 1 Corinthians. And again, thanks for the chance for me to share.